What do you want to debate about?
You're the one who came here. Sounds like you want to debate.
Oh, so you have nothing to debate about. Shut the fuck up, little bitch. You have nothing, Nick.
I mean, I could point out the things that you're wrong about. Is that what you
Nick,
want? If you want to argue, you want to argue about politics, that's fine.
Oh, so argue about politics. Go ahead, little white boy. You'll never be an Arab, by the way. Go ahead. Make your argument.
About what you're incorrect on politically?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first, I'll clarify. What do you mean by MAGA?
So this is what he wants to do. He debates me. He wants what I'm wrong about. Hold on. He wants to point out what I'm wrong about, and then he asks me questions like I'm his fucking professor.
Yeah, because I want to line it up so that
go read a book, you little bitch.
I want to line it up so that I have this correct.
Go
so that
read it. Okay, go. I've written about it.
What does MAGA communism mean? Does that mean
I wrote like 20,000 words on it, so you can go read that.
Yeah, I read it, and you talked a bunch of nonsense about.
Okay, so it sounds like you don't have a question then. So make your argument.
Yeah, just yes or no. Just yes.
No, we're not doing 21 questions. Make your argument. Okay, make your argument.
So you can't answer the question because you don't stand for anything.
So make your argument. You read my 20,000 words. Hold on. You read my 20,000 words.
The next day you talked about MAGA communism. What is
you read my 20,000 words, so make your argument.
Well, I want to clarify. Does it mean you support Trump? Yes or no?
You didn't read shit then.
Because
all of that is clarified. Hold on.
No, but the problem is you moved the goalposts.
That's old news. All of that is clarified. It's literally directly in print. It's in written print. Did you read? You said you read it. Did you read it?
Can you, for the audience, clarify?
No, I'm debating you now, little bitch.
Yeah, but there's an audience here. Can you say yes?
We're not doing this for the audience. It's between.
Sounds like you're the bitch because you're scared to stand by your
I'm scared of what? I'm scared of
your own words because you're a coward. You can't back up your own words because you're a
white boy ass. I'm scared of you. You fucking frail skeleton looking bitch.
See, this is the level of your argument.
They call me the one flick shatterer because I just flicked you once and you would shatter into dust. You fucking frail fucking bag of bones.
I mean, this is what do you want to argue about?
Do you have anything to argue about, or you just want to ask me more questions, little boy?
I mean, I'm trying to, but you're not really engaging.
No, you're asking me questions. You're not making arguments.
Set 3 topics.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get you to stand to an actual position. Because you're.
I have 20. You said you read my thing on the MAGA. I had 25.
Yeah, but it was a while ago, and honestly, it was a bunch of bullshit. And so I'm trying to get your words.
So how can you engage in a debate if you're gonna dismiss all of that as bullshit? You dumb fuck. You're not even smart enough to debate anything because you can't even read.
Yeah, I mean, you're whining that I called it bullshit. After
you can't even read.
Saying, I mean, come on,
no, you can't even read. You can't even engage with arguments. You're just gonna because you're too stupid to understand them. So what can you even argue about?
No, you're too stupid to formulate an argument. That's why I'm just shouting like a baby and bitching.
I formulated plenty of arguments in the thing you claim to have read. So make your argument.
And that's why everyone.
Make your argument.
I'm calm, and you're here.
Okay, so make your argument.
Do you have anything that you want to argue?
Make an argument.
Well, the problem with you is that you don't stand for
anything. Okay, Nick Maniaci.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth for a second.
Name one thing I'm. You're not gonna shut my mouth and get away with it. Name one thing I'm wrong about politically. Name one thing I'm wrong about politically. One thing I'm wrong about politically.
Shut your mouth for a second.
One thing I'm wrong about politically.
So I'm asking you.
Name the time for questions over. Assert one thing I'm wrong about. Say one thing I'm wrong about. Say one thing I'm wrong for.
You don't want to stand by anything, and then you change your position depending on what the person you're arguing.
Say one thing I'm wrong about politically. Say one thing I'm wrong about politically. Go ahead.
Well, first we have to establish where you stand for.
How can you disagree with anything I stand for then? How can you disagree with anything I've ever said if I don't stand anywhere?
Because much of it is true what you've said. Much of it is true, and much of
it is so what is false?
What is false?
Yeah, what is false about what I've said?
Well, I could give you loads of examples.
Give me one.
For first example, you try to say that the non-Western civilizations or like empires were socialist.
Yes, they were.
Like the Ottoman Empire was socialist.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so the Ottoman Empire is socialist. We have you on record for that.
Well, it was. It's past tense because it doesn't exist anymore, you dumb fuck.
Yeah, we have you on record. The Ottoman Empire was socialist.
I've literally said that many of times. Yes, it was.
Okay,
so was the Safavid Empire.
Define socialism. What's your definition of socialism?
When the mode of production is social in nature, you dumb fuck.
What does that mean?
It means the mode of production is social in nature. What do you want me to elaborate on?
Okay, how does that not apply to capitalism?
Because profit is literally antisocial, dumb retard. It's literally pure form. It's pure abstract form. It has no social content. You fucking retard. The Ottoman production was ultimately geared around reproducing these small farming peoples that had their way of life they preserved for hundreds of years, building public works and expanding the empire. It was ultimately about a determinate goal of unifying people on a social basis. That's what all these fucking empires were about. That is not what capitalism is about. Capitalism has no social dimension whatsoever, at least on the formal level. The form of the Ottoman Empire was social in nature. Money was social in nature. The economy was social in nature. Simple as that.
That sounds nice. Well, what do you mean by social in nature? You're saying like it was shared, or what does that mean?
No, I mean it was directed toward something beyond just abstract form. It was about how people reproduce their existence while also being interdependent on one and another in a determinate
beyond an abstract form. Beyond an abstract form. What does that mean?
Have you ever read Marxist Capital, you fucking retard LARPer bitch? It's literally in capital.
Yeah.
So what do you know what the value form is? Do you know what the commodity form is? It's an abstract form.
Something that Marx talked about was the dictatorship of the proletariat. Does that have nothing to do with socialism to you?
That has everything to do with socialism after capitalism has come into existence. Yes. Did the proletariat predate capitalism, retard? No, they didn't. So shut the fuck up.
So you're saying that you can have.
So you keep asking me questions. Where's the assertion?
Because I'm trying. Okay, so the assertion is that's a bullshit.
So why is it bullshit?
These were not socialist states.
Why not?
Because the socialism is the rule of the working class in a basic sense. It's the dictatorship of the proletariat. That's not.
Okay, can you prove that socialism?
And there was massive. There was a ruling class and a ruling elite.
Okay, can you prove?
Above
even though there's private property, how can there be a capitalist elite when there's no capitalism or private property?
I didn't say it was a capitalist elite. Learn how to.
So how can there be class in the Western sense when there was no private property?
There was no private property.
Marx didn't think so.
Well, what do you mean by private property?
Marx directly said there was no private property in the Asiatic mode of production, and that's what differentiates. That's what differentiates.
Were there landlords?
According to Karl Marx, there was no private property. Period.
Where did he say that?
You want me to find the direct quotation?
Or just where? What did he write that in?
In his early works.
Like what? Which one?
I'm looking for the exact one.
In the sense of capital.
Nope, that's not what he said. He said private property in general. Okay.
So would you say that all society prior?
First, I'm looking for the exact one.
And you also say we'll get to this later, so I don't want to change the subject. But while you're looking it up, you also say the U.S. is socialist.
No, we're focusing on this right now.
You find it?
It's literally something. It's gonna take a little longer than just 2 fucking seconds, retard.
That's why I wanted to ask about something else while people are waiting. I think you did say the U.S. is.
Well, I'm focusing on this right now, dumb fuck. I'm literally using all of my fucking time finding this shit.
I know you don't have much brain capacity. You gotta focus on that. I'll let you look for that.
Wait. You're saying I'm stupid for not having this off the top of my head? You fucking idiot. You want to do this game? You want to play this game?
The basis of your argument. If this is the basis of your argument, I would think you'd have the source for it.
You'd think I would have the source for it, so I couldn't have just remembered reading it. The legal conception of landed private property means nothing more. In the modern world, only with the development of capitalist mode of production. In Asia, it has simply been imported here and there by Europeans. So that's
what's the source?
In his 1864-65 notebooks, where he says private property was just imported to Asia by Europeans.
Okay. I'm not. I honestly.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. cocksucker. Shut the fuck up. I found it. It's a speed run. It's a speed run. I literally found that in like 2 minutes. There are no private landowners, but it is the state. There are no private landowners, but it is the state which confronts them directly as simultaneously landowner and sovereign.
Okay. Well, is there such thing as so the state control alone?
Where did Marx say that? Wait a minute. I literally just gave you one of the examples.
Because I'm gonna look into it myself because I haven't read that. I can admit that.
So you need to concede to me that you were wrong. I did produce it for you. You question.
No, I don't concede that you.
Why did I have to get it for you? You question whether I was making it up.
Because I wanted to see what the source. No. He did not make the argument that he did not say that this was a socialist society. You want to read the quote again? You want to read the quote again?
Retard, cocksucker. We're shifting the goalpost now, you fucking cocksucker. All I said was that there was...
No, that's what you do. You shift the goalpost because you don't stand for anything, because you're an idiot. You're a clown.
I'm going to start saying slurs in a second. The argument is this, okay? I told you, how can there be class when there's no private property? You said, how is there no private property? I said, Marx said there was no private property. And then you said, okay, where did Marx say that?
Read the quote, because I don't have the quote in front of me.
Okay, so you read it then if you have it in front of you.
I said I don't have it in front of me.
I just read it to you. He said, in Asia, it has simply been imported here and there by Europeans, and that there are no private landowners, but instead the state owns everything. That's what Marx said.
Okay, well, I'd like to see the full context of that because
I don't think full context. Because
I don't think
Marx,
I don't think you would
it's not even
that there was no private land.
But it's not only.
Were there?
But that's what he said.
Would you say that there were no private landowners in Asia?
That's what he said.
So when Lenin corrected Marx on certain things, was Lenin wrong? Like,
so you're shifting. So you argumentatively, you're shifting the goalposts. I said Marx said this. You questioned me. You doubted it. I produced you the evidence.
Yeah. Well,
and now you're saying the problem is.
He didn't say it was socialist.
But so you just shift. But I didn't say that either. You're shifting the goalposts right now.
Yes, you did. No. You did say that these empires.
I said they're socialists. I didn't say Marx directly called them socialists. I said Marx recognized they had no private property. You now shift the goalposts and saying I have to produce.
So this is your only.
So why do I have
for why they were socialists?
No. I made the argument for why they were socialists. You said, well, there was still all this classism. I said, but how can there be classes when there's no private property? And then you didn't answer me. You just questioned whether that was true or not. I said, well, Marx certainly thought it was true. You questioned that. I produced you the evidence, and now you're shifting the goalposts.
Because there were
Nick.
There was division of labor and power hierarchy within that. There were classes.
So
you're saying these were classless societies? Are you saying these were classless societies?
Can class exist without private property?
Depends on your definition. I suppose private property. There was private landowners. Yeah.
Well, Marx didn't think so because all land was owned by the state.
Are you seriously arguing that all land was owned by the state in all of Asia?
He is talking about Asiatic land empires like the Ottoman Empire. Yes, in the Ottoman Empire, before the Tanzimat reforms in the 19th century, all land was owned by the state. Yeah.
And so, okay, if that's, I'm not an expert on the Ottoman Empire, but let's say that that's true. Well,
it was true also for China. It was also true for the Safavid Empire. It was.
Well, hang on. Let's stick with one thing at a time. If that's the case, so are you saying just by state, like you can't have, for example, there's a such thing as state capitalism, for example. Just because there's state control of something doesn't mean that there aren't classes. Just because the state controls it doesn't.
State capitalism is a transitory. State capitalism is a transitory reality. So no, it's not like some permanent state of being. State capitalism either for both.
And these other societies weren't transitory.
No, because they existed for hundreds of years, retard, even for thousands. The Egyptian state, for example, the ancient Egyptian state existed for thousands of years. It was an Asia. It followed under the same definition. So China, for another example. So no, these were not. It was not a transitory form that the state owned everything.
But the basis of your argument is that there is not classes. So my argument is that you can even if that's true, which I'm not sure of because I'm not an expert on the Ottoman Empire, even if that's true, you can still have exploitation by one class or another through
So
state control.
name me the various.
State is
Hold
not
on. So name me the various classes of the Ottoman Empire that this was happening in. Just name it for me. Name me the relations of production as you understand them.
Honestly, I
don't know. But you did say I was wrong. Hold on. You did say I was wrong. Hold on.
Can I finish?
No, you can't.
Can I finish, or are you just blabbering? I didn't finish.
So finish then. Finish, Nick. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're gonna just shut your mouth thing. I'm not gonna let you finish then. Hold on. So you said I said yeah, I am gonna keep going. I'm a cocksucker. I'm gonna keep going. Hey, Nick Maniaci, white boy, be an Arab. You have a fucking argument. You said I was wrong about the Ottoman Empire being socialist. How can you fuck?
Yeah, the Ottoman Empire.
But you don't know anything about the Ottoman Empire. You don't know anything about the Ottoman Empire, though. You can't name me. You can't name me. You can't name me the. You can't. Stop trying to say. Stop trying to say Arab. You don't have the fucking DNA to say Arab. You can't say Arab. I'm trying to fucking say it. You can't say it.
You're trying to say that the Ottoman Empire.
Yes, I am.
And everyone knows it's a joke.
Why is it a joke?
What does socialism mean to you?
Hold on, you got destroyed on the target.
Is socialism?
Hold on.
Is socialism?
Wait.
Socialism like a permanent.
First, you said I was wrong about the Ottoman Empire being socialist. Then you don't know. But how could you know that if you don't know anything about the Ottoman Empire?
No, I do know about the Ottoman Empire.
You claimed that there was class exploitation.
I can't name the specifics.
You can't name the class relations. So at best, you have to be agnostic. So until you, little boy, until you go study it, you have to be agnostic, and you can't claim to know anything about the empire, the Ottoman Empire.
Well, I know that it wasn't social.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because you had a ruling elite in the country that ruled over
how did that happen?
Oppressed the masses.
So how you're talking?
Are you familiar with the massacres that occurred against Arabs in Syria and elsewhere?
You're talking about the imports after the importation of European private after the Tanzimat reforms in the 19th century. That was a fraction of the existence of the Ottoman Empire. And I prefaced and I actually qualified my statement.
No, still the Ottoman Empire.
But I qualified my statement as saying before those 19th century reforms, the Tanzimat reforms, where they
even before then, okay.
Even then, what you have to say? So, okay, how did they do that?
Even before then, they oppressed the Arabs.
How?
Well, if you look at all the rulers of the Ottoman, I'll tell you, it remained underdeveloped.
There was no paradigm of development. What development existed under European feudalism? There's no such thing as development.
Are you kidding? No, the Ottoman Empire did develop certain areas, like within Asia Minor, modern day Turkey.
After the Tanzimat reforms, when did you think the Industrial Revolution in the Ottoman Empire started?
No, I'm not talking about even industrialization. So, they built up cities and such.
They didn't hold on. Do you even know how governance worked for where the Arabs? They self-governed themselves. The Ottomans just took taxes. You're saying they didn't build public works outside of Anatolia? That's a lie. That's not true.
Not compared to what they did elsewhere, and also the rulers.
Wait. Can you name me an empire where they didn't do more closer to the center? Of course, closer to the center of the empire, there's going to be more. That's true for every empire in fucking history. That doesn't mean that one ethnic group is being oppressed. It means the seat of the empire is in the.
Well, they didn't have. They didn't. For some reason, they didn't put Arab rulers. They put rulers from pretty much everyone else except for Arabs for some reason.
That's a lie. Arabs did have rulers.
As like the top head of the Ottoman Empire, you had loads of other people. I think you had Albanians.
No, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire was always a member of the House of Uthman. Okay, there's no fucking Albanians who are the Sultan unless they have some of that in their fucking blood. Okay, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about here. What do you think it's like the Roman Empire where the Senate is electing the fuck or some shit? No, it's based on blood. It's the House of Osman or Uthman, however white boy you'll say Osman. So what are you talking about? Because Arabs were not the Sultan of the empire, that means they were being fucking oppressed for hundreds of years. That's not true.
And also, well, here's the other thing. I'm not saying like the Ottoman Empire was like the most brutal empire of all times, but it was not that's not my argument. And in fact, a lot of the ideas about it in the West are not exactly accurate. But at the same time, it was there was absolutely a hierarchy in these ways that was that
When,
was not good for
when,
ours. And in the later years,
why
these
are you
things were
defining
enforced.
why are you defining socialism in terms of the presence or absence of hierarchies? Can you name me a socialist?
I'm talking. No, I'm not. That's
Can you
that's
name
not
me a
what I'm saying. You're
socialist
trying
thing
to.
that
You see, you're
doesn't have
trying to make a false argument. I'm saying a hierarchy within ethnicities or groups. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, there was no more a hierarchy of ethnicities within the early modern Ottoman Empire than in the Soviet Union.
Well, that's quite a wild statement when Stalin was the leader of the early Soviet
Doesn't
Union.
matter.
I
Doesn't
mean,
matter. Stalin oversaw Russification. He was the leader of the Soviet Union. Doesn't matter. The actual
and
ruling.
so you're repeating anti-communist propaganda right now,
No,
actually,
it's an objective fact.
because they actually supported local cultures throughout the various parts of the
Yeah,
Soviet
that's
Union.
true.
They
That's
supported
true.
the Islamic culture of
Yeah,
Central
that's
Asia. They
true.
supported the
Hold on,
Soviet.
hold on.
So you're kind of
But
repeating
that
anti-Soviet,
foundation.
anti-Russian
Hold on,
propaganda right now.
This is well known. If you know anything about Soviet history, that foundation
Define Russification.
that foundation occurred mostly before Stalin. Now, Stalin upheld it, sure. But the irony is that Stalin was known, he was called by Lenin to be a great Russian bully. He was known for wanting to promote Russianness and Russification in
And do you
general.
think that's true that he was a quote great Russian bully?
No,
That's
I
true?
actually side with Stalin over Lenin on that dispute. But it's undoubtedly the case. The Soviet Union was.
Define Russification. Define, because it's not as if
Most
they're
of it,
trying
okay,
to dominate or have a hierarchy of
no,
cultures.
but
It was
no,
basically
there's
having
no
centralization
hold
of
on.
language so that the
There's
socialist
no.
state could flow. So it's a completely false
Okay, well,
comparison.
that's also true for the Ottoman Empire. There is no explicit attempt to create a hierarchy. It's against Islam. There's no explicit attempt to create a hierarchy of ethnicities or peoples. If there happens to be some kind of hierarchy where Turks somehow have a higher social standing implicitly within the society, that's not because of some kind of like, a caste system that they're fucking implementing. It's for the same reason that Russians had a higher standing in the Soviet Union. The exact same reason, because they're closer to the center. It's not fucking because it's racist or some shit. So and same thing for China.
Well, I would argue it is, and that's why it
Okay,
culminated in those things later on.
so was that also?
We're going kind of far afield from the socialism part, which
You
is
have to make the same case for the Soviet Union, a socialist state according to you, and China, a social state
no,
according to you as well. You have to make the same argument because in China,
no, Soviet Union
okay,
wasn't the case.
in the Ottoman,
They supported local culture.
okay, the Ottoman Empire had no notion of nationalism. They had no ethnicity policy. They had no notion of any of that.
They didn't need to have a nationalism. There could be an implicit
No, there isn't.
form of supremacy in one group over
The
another.
Turks adopted Arabic script. There was a fusion of cultures that happened that was organic. There was no differentiation of people on the basis of fucking ethnicities or nations. There were
No, there's a difference there. Just because they adopted
no, there were no fucking unified Arabs. There were different Arab tribes that had no sense of unity amongst one and another in the Ottoman Empire just for being Arab. That's not how it fucking worked in the before modernity. People didn't fucking belong to nations where they thought, oh yeah, I'm part of this holistic fucking group.
Well, I didn't say they did or
they didn't.
What I
They
said
didn't.
was that
They didn't.
that's not. Well, I didn't say they did or they didn't. What I said is that their adoption of the Arabic script does not necessarily mean what you're saying, that it was like,
because
it's all unity between all the groups and it's all equal.
I have to educate the retard. In modernity, everyone's ethnicity and nation just kind of froze, and they just kind of stuck with that till the end of time, whatever. Like, oh, we're the Turks. During this time, there's a organic, free-flowing process of ethnogenesis where different peoples are fusing together, languages are starting to change. Well, like 30% of the fucking Turkish language is taken from Persian, for example. So they didn't have this kind of fixed sense of national identity to fucking begin with. You did have tribal identities that were based on patrilineal, culture, like the patriarchy or whatever. That has nothing to do with any semblance of discrete different nations or ethnicities. You're talking out of your fucking ass. The different Vilets in the fucking Ottoman Empire, that was defined by religion. That was not defined by ethnicity. Muslims were understood to be one people. It's the Ummah, okay? I know you're a fucking heretic Saddam supporter, so you don't believe in an Ummah, okay? But
actually, no, Saddam did believe in it. You don't know.
I was an Arab nationalist who fucking gassed Kurds, dumb fuck.
Do you know anything about Arab nationalism whatsoever?
He gassed Kurds. I know that.
Do you know anything about Arab nationalism whatsoever? The
He
idea of Arab
gassed the
nationalism is
Kurds.
about
He gassed the Kurds.
uniting the Arabs and then uniting the Islamic world as well. But yeah, let
Yeah,
this
yeah.
comrade.
So you surrender your manhood and you lose the fucking debate because you want to pass it.
No, you surrendered your manhood because
Yo,
you're a
how am
clown.
I a clown?
You know
That has yet to be proven. Hey, Nick
You're a
Maniaci.
clown because you're saying
Nick
the Ottoman Empire is
Nick Maniaci,
socialist.
but you have yet to make one coherent, consistent
I
argument.
did. Is socialism the transition to communism?
Not necessarily. Well, socialism and communism are not even.
Not necessarily. Okay.
They're not even necessarily different.
They're not different.
Not
Wow.
necessarily. No.
So you don't have a state in socialism.
In the specific,
you're kind of putting yourself into a
in the specific context of 20th century socialism and Marxism-Leninism. Yes, that's after modern capitalism occurs. That's a completely different context of what socialism is, and a different history. Okay, but the more general question of what socialism or communism is, does that come from thin air? Is this something in the future? No, that has a really firm basis in the history of humanity. And by the way, Marx and Engels also agreed with that because they had a notion of primitive communism explicitly.
Right. Yeah.
And they were very loose about the term.
What was
they had no problem.
What was the basis of primitive communism? What made primitive communism communist? What was it?
Did they transition from a socialist state in primitive communism?
No, I asked you what was the basis of it. Why was it primitive communism?
There was an absence of private property.
And were there social classes?
There was no state either. That was the main one. There was no state.
Yo, Haas,
Right.
what up? You can stop talking to this loser. I was just wanting to by the way, I don't want to
So Nick Maniaci has surrendered his manhood for all eternity.
Yeah, he did.
No, you did because you are a clown.
You were talking about though.
He calls me a clown, but he can't make an argument to defend it.
Dude, clowns are manly as shit. The Joker is fucking a male icon. The Joker is a male incel icon, you fucking retard. What are you talking about?
Okay, yeah, he could be that.
All right, flame of liberalism. Can you please be quiet now? The adults are talking. But you were talking about the whole Lenin and Stalin debate on the national question. I just want to let you know it was actually Stalin. He was actually for the independent or autonomous republics to actually be elevated to a higher level, and it was actually kind of Lenin. If Lenin actually wrote it, but he actually may not have because it could have been Trotsky or Krupskaya. But Stalin was actually against the creation of a separate, I believe, government for the RFSR because he didn't want there to be great Russian chauvinism, and he actually very much supported the level of independence for the independent republics, such as Tatarstan and Turkestan. So I think it's kind of actually part of the anti-Stalin paradigm, and the Trotskyite mythos that Lenin hated Stalin, and that Stalin was this big Georgian bully who hated the minority.
I don't know. Is this only for me or? I heard what you said though. Your voice was like cutting out, but it was like robotic. Well, I mean, like, that may very well be true. I'd have to look into those details, but I do know that Stalin, during the Georgian affair, kind of acted pretty harshly against the local Georgian government.
No, so what he wanted was an all Caucasian socialist federated republic. And that wasn't actually like a chauvinism. It was more so he just wanted them all to have autonomy, but he wanted them to be connected as one. Because he wanted to do it, he wanted to actually combat regional nationalism, which would only be benefited from the whole division on borders.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yo, by the way, Haas, your thing, what's it called? Your mic is really bad right now.
Yeah.
Just in the last couple minutes.
I think what I'm hearing from yours is probably how mine sounds. Yeah.
For Haas. I just have one question for Haas. Who was right? No. I just have one question for Haas. So who was right when Stalin proposed a trans-Caucasian socialist Soviet republic, and then Lenin said, no, we should just make the Georgian Socialist Republic. Who was
right?
correct?
Stalin was right.
Okay, and then so when Stalin said that they shouldn't make a Russian Federated Soviet Socialist Republic because that would create Russian chauvinism, and Lenin said no, we should create a Russian Federated Socialist Soviet Republic.
Stalin was right
then.
Stalin was right. Lenin was very much Lenin loved Europe, and there's nothing wrong with that, but he was very much someone who was influenced very heavily by Europe. You know, he had this view that Russia was backward and the European nation state is more advanced. So he basically wanted to import the European nation state model and be like the foundation of the Soviet Union as just the federation.
This is honestly anti-Lenin propaganda. Are you serious?
Shut the fuck up, Nick. Maniaci, real Marxists are talking right now. Just in the same way. Yeah.
You're not a Marxist. You don't stand for anything. You're just spewing anti-Lenin propaganda.
Flame of liberalism.
So when Mao,
be quiet.
You're spewing anti-Lenin propaganda right
now. When Mao critiques Stalin, does that mean Mao is repeating anti-Stalin propaganda? You dumb fuck. Lenin can be criticized, and that's something.
Yo, we make a critique of
so. The thing is that you know, Lenin wanted to import the European nation state model just to be the foundation of a federation. Stalin was in the know about the fact that the Russian civilization was a civilization. It wasn't just some kind of amalgamation of different discrete groups. It was a proper civilization with, you know, like a millennia of history. You can't just separate people and give them discrete nation states and expect it all to turn out well. Lenin wanted to kind of modernize and, in a sense, westernize Russia. And you know, that was a defect he had on the national question. But obviously, in the main, you know, Stalin was still the student of Lenin. It's just on the specific question of how to build a Soviet Union, which is something Lenin never planned on doing, because his strategy was for world revolution. Stalin was clearly far superior.